Okay, we talked to you about the tariffs the United States has imposed on Mexico, Canada, and also on China. They have come into effect this morning. The Chinese and the Canadians have hit back. We're expecting retaliatory measures from Mexico as well. Our economics editor, Ed Conway, joins us. Ed, just talk us through what's happened in the last few hours and also these reciprocal tariffs that have also been in place against the US.
Well, so the US obviously, when Donald Trump came in, said he wanted to impose tariffs on Canada and on Mexico, 25% tariffs. They weren't implemented immediately. There was obviously, you'll remember he was talking about this partly being in relation to imports of opioids, so drugs, into the US from those countries. There were conversations at the time, so this was a month ago, with the Canadian Prime Minister, with the President of Mexico about that, and both of them said that they would get extra guards on the borders. It was going to be clamping down on migration as well, on illegal immigration. And essentially the tariffs were put off by a month. But now that month has kind of elapsed and Donald Trump has said that those tariffs will be implemented, and as far as we know, they have been imposed now. So right now they have come into operation in the US. And it is a very big deal. I mean, 25% tariffs on two of the biggest trading partners with the US is an enormous deal. And economists don't like tariffs, and they don't like tariffs primarily because it creates extra friction in the flow of goods around the world. And when you're creating that extra friction, that means things get more expensive. And so the expectation is this would push up inflation in the US. It would push down growth, so you have weaker economic growth. Why is the US doing it? Well, in part it's because Donald Trump says he wants to bring back production into the US, and he's said that he potentially will have tariffs on France. So there's the president of France talking to him just last week. He said that he might well have reciprocal tariffs, as they're known. So any tariff, basically kind of raising the level of tariffs so they're high at the same level as those tariffs faced by the US, or the trade barriers faced by the US with other countries. So he says there's more to come. But I think these are the most economically significant for the domestic economy of the US itself, just because when you look at North America, it is basically one big economic zone. And so imposing extra tariffs on movements of goods around that economic zone, things going across the border from the US to Canada, to Mexico. If you're thinking about making a car, the components that go into that car, whether it's assembled eventually in America or assembled in Canada or in Mexico, a lot of the different parts and components and metals cross the border numerous times before that car is finished. In a sense, the analogy here is Brexit. Remember when Brexit happened, a lot of people talking about what that would mean for the UK and for trade. We had these big kind of supply chains that bestrode the entire continent. The same thing is happening now in the US, except we never imposed tariffs during Brexit. We had custom checks, but no tariffs. Tariffs being imposed in America is a very big economic deal indeed.